There's a moment in every man's life when he hears something that doesn't just hurt him, it changes him. Not in an instant, not with anger, but slowly, quietly, like a crack in a wall that you ignore for months until one day the whole thing comes down. That moment for me came on a Tuesday evening in November. My mother had just called me crying. She was sick, nothing life-threatening, but she was alone. She was scared, and she needed help getting to a doctor's appointment the next morning. I put down the phone and turned to my wife, Elena. I told her what was going on. I asked if she'd be okay with me going over early in the morning. She didn't look up from her phone. She said, and I remember every single word, "That's your mother, not mine. Handle it yourself." She said it so casually, the way you'd talk about a chore you don't want to do. I didn't respond. I just nodded, picked up my keys, and went to sit in the car for about 20 minutes, alone, in the dark, because something had shifted, and I felt it. I want to be clear. I'm not someone who dramatizes things. I'm not a man who looks for problems or creates conflict out of nothing. I'm the kind of man who wakes up at 5 in the morning, handles his responsibilities, comes home, and tries to build something real with the person he chose. I had been with Elena for 6 years at that point. Married for 3. I thought I knew her. I thought we were a team. But that night, sitting in that car, I realized I had been measuring our relationship by what I put into it, not by what it actually was. I had missed the signs. Or maybe I had seen them and chosen not to look too closely. The small moments where she pulled back. The way she spoke about my family like they were an inconvenience. The quiet way she let me carry everything, every bill, every decision, every difficult conversation, while she remained comfortable and distant. Looking back now, I can see it clearly. But back then, I told myself it was just a rough patch. I told myself she was tired or stressed or going through something. I gave her the benefit of the doubt for 3 years. That Tuesday night, the doubt ran out. I went to my mother's appointment alone the next morning, got her medication, made sure she had food, stayed until she was settled. And when I came home that evening, Elena was laughing on a video call with her friends. Relaxed, unbothered. She asked if everything was fine. I said yes, and I meant it in a way she didn't understand. Everything was fine, because I had finally started seeing clearly. Over the next few weeks, I began paying attention differently, not with suspicion, not with anger, just with open eyes. And what I saw wasn't some dramatic betrayal. It was something quieter and in many ways more painful. It was indifference. Elena had stopped being my partner. She had become comfortable. There's a difference. She stopped asking about my day, but always had something she needed. She had no interest in my family, but expected me to be fully present for every event on her side. She criticized how I spent my money, but never questioned how much of it was keeping our life running. She had opinions about everything I did, but zero accountability for anything she didn't do. And here's the part that really settled in for me. I started talking to my older brother about some of what was happening. Not everything, just enough. And he said something to me that I've thought about almost every day since. He said, "A woman who respects you will never make you feel like your mother is your problem alone." Simple words, but they landed like a stone in still water. I went back and thought about every time I had asked Elena to be there, really be there, for something that mattered to me. My father's health scare 2 years ago. The business I was trying to build. The nights I came home exhausted and just needed someone to sit with me in silence. Every single time, she was either absent, distracted, or subtly making it about herself. I had been so focused on being a good husband that I had stopped asking whether I had a good wife. Then came the evening. I came home early from work and overheard her on the phone. With her sister, she was talking about me, not cruelly, but with a kind of dismissiveness that cut deep. She called me too attached to my family. She said I needed to grow up and set boundaries with them. I stood in the hallway for a moment. Then I walked in calmly, made myself a cup of tea, and sat down at the kitchen table. She finished her call and walked past me without saying a word. And that was it. That was the moment the last of it left me. Not anger, not even sadness, just clarity. The kind that comes after a long time of not wanting to see something. I had loved this woman with everything I had. I had shown up every single day. But love without respect is just performance. And I was tired of performing for an empty room. I didn't say anything that night. I didn't need to. I just started making plans. I want to be honest about what my revenge looked like, because it wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. There were no arguments, no ultimatums, no confrontations at 2 a.m. My revenge was silence and preparation. Over the next 2 months, I quietly got my finances in order. I spoke to a lawyer. I had one final, honest conversation with Elena, not to fight, not to beg, not to explain, just to give her the truth she had never really given me. I told her that I had felt alone in our marriage for a long time, that her comment about my mother wasn't the cause. It was just a moment I finally accepted what had already been true. She was shocked. She cried. She said she didn't realize, and I believed her. That was almost the saddest part. She genuinely hadn't noticed because she hadn't been paying attention. Not to me, not to us. I told her calmly, I don't need you to understand it now. I just needed to say it, and then I walked away. The months that followed were not easy. Separation never is. There were hard nights and hard mornings and moments where I questioned everything. But there was also something else, something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. I started focusing on myself in a way I hadn't since before the marriage. I rebuilt my relationship with my family. I invested in my business. I started taking care of my health. I stopped shrinking myself to keep the room comfortable. And here's what nobody tells you about that kind of quiet comeback. It doesn't look like revenge from the outside. It just looks like a man living his life. But you feel it. Every day you feel it. Elena reached out about 4 months after we separated. She told me she had been thinking about everything. She said she missed me. She said she wished things had been different. I thanked her. I genuinely did, because she had taught me something I needed to learn. She had taught me that a man who doesn't value himself will always find himself in a life that reflects that. I had spent years trying to be enough for someone who had already decided I wasn't a priority. And the moment I stopped trying to be enough for her, I became more than enough for myself. That's the lesson. Not bitterness, not hatred, Just this: the right person will never make you feel like your pain is an inconvenience. The right relationship will never require you to choose between your dignity and your love. I didn't lose my wife. I found my standard, and I've never lowered it since. If this story hit something inside you, drop a comment below. You'd be surprised how many men are sitting in the same silence right now. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe if you're new here. Stay grounded, stay dignified, and never forget, a man who knows his worth never has to prove it. I'll see you in the next one.